So let's say you have a job, a career. Let's talk about the midheaven. You have a job that you don't know how you got it. Number one, fate drives the ship. You think you're choosing your career. You think you chose your first husband. You think you chose your dog. It did not happen. All of that chose you. And this is what astrology discovers. You are being directed by your soul. The sooner you have a relationship with your soul, the sooner you're going to get a vote. Otherwise, you're being affected like all of us. So at a very young age, astrology found me and it called my name. I was so young. I think I was 18 or 19 when I had my first reading. I must have been 19. I had just left high school. And I was so struck by this astrology tool that they could describe to me at that point. So interesting. The woman knew that I was a dancer before she even saw me. She looked at my chart. She said, look at that. You've got Neptune on the ascendant. You're a dancer. And I was like, God, I was going to study dance in university. So fate was driving my ship. Fate was giving me the opportunity to get my chart done. She called me a dancer and off I went without even knowing it. I was already dancing, but the chart actively confirmed it, which gave me this comfortable feeling in my heart. What we further came to discover is my midheaven's Cancer and I am a healer. My nature is to want to mother all of you, all 700 of you. If I had my way right now, I'd be in your bedroom with you, giving you a hug and saying, please study astrology. You're going to feel so much better about yourself. You're going to fall in love with who you are. You're going to feel like you're not a mistake. You're going to understand why you have that job. God, it makes me so happy thinking about being able to sneak into your bedroom right now with 700 people in this room. Okay, so next what happens is that midheaven comes in. First of all, there's 4 elements. We're going to start very basic. So you look at the very top of the chart, the MC, what would be noon, and you pull off of that just the sign. So let's go back to Carrie's chart. What we see in Carrie's chart was it was Libra on her midheaven. We can tell that by 2 indicators. One is by looking at her chart, and Carrie's going to pull it up. You can see where the MC is on the very top, and then you look to see what sign. There it is. It's a little scale. But you might not know that because you don't know the symbols yet. So you look over here in the box of blue print. The very last thing is the MC. See where it says MC and she's pointing? It's just the second set of degrees don't matter. It's just the first degree. So we know she's 5 degrees, which doesn't matter as a beginner, of Libra. So you would write down my midheaven is Libra. So all of you can look at your chart. This is a really basic, simple access point that I'm giving you today. One option is to go to the top of the chart and look for MC and the symbol, but you won't know the symbol. The second is you go in that blue box. The very last language, the very last thing on that blue box will say MC. It will have a sign. You will take the sign off of the chart. You'll go Google, what does Libra mean? But let's start with Aries. So let's say it looked like an Aries, like a ram's head. If you have Aries on the midheaven, that tells me that in this, and see, here's one more piece before I get into the details. I didn't realize how important the midheaven was until years went by. Because it's not accessible through a planet, which is one of the voices in your head. We all have voices in our head. Raise your hand if you have voices in your head. Oh, look, everyone's raising their hand. We all have dialogues going on. One voice says, be sitting still. One voice says, get up. One voice says, eat the potato chips. One voice says, don't eat the potato chips. We all have multiple voices. Those are planets. You have different flavors going on, and it's a council inside your head that's uncoordinated until you can name them. And that's what astrology does. It names the voices in your head. The midheaven is not a planet. It's an indicator. It's an influence that is waiting for your attention. Well, I didn't know that it was as important as it was till years went by. And when I finally realized one day, oh my God, I'm being overshadowed. Think of it as in the top of your head, there's a little angel who's calling your name about your career, but it wasn't inside of your voices. It's just trying to guide you. And when you figure it out, you can get really clear information about your career, which is why this conversation is so important. So now let's go through it. So let's say you have Aries in the midheaven. That's a fire sign. And let's say you're a Cancer, you're a little water sign, or you're a Pisces, you're a dreamer, and you're super sensitive, but you've got Aries in the midheaven. That tells us that your career this lifetime came in with fire. We start with the element first. So before you get complicated, because you may not know all 12 signs, all of you listening, just start with the element. That's why my book, The Missing Element, is a beginner's book. It gives you information without being complicated. So if you just want to figure out the element that is driving your career, you go to the midheaven. In the case with Carrie, she'd look it up. It says Libra. She would Google, what element is Libra? Oh, it's air. Well, isn't that perfect? Because Carrie's job is a communicator. She's running this webinar. She runs our whole company around knowing how to get the computer system working. She does the communication on the newsletter. She does Libra. Simplify it. She just does air as her career. So that's the first step, but you have to read the book or take the class to know what air means. A-I-R. I know I say it funny. Everyone needs a Carrie. Thank you for saying that, Bonnie. Bonnie Gillespie. Okay, then we find out that she's got fire in the midheaven. Those of you that have Aries, that means that you're a pioneer, you're a fire, you're a midheaven, your career. Let's go through the three of them. If you have Aries, Leo, or Sag on the midheaven, Aries, Leo, or Sag, you'd learn this in the book. Any three of those signs, I will know that in this lifetime, you've come in to show off, show up, be bold, let your career help you stand out. So I had someone staying with me last month, and she had Leo on the midheaven, but she wasn't very, and Leo is the actress. It's the performer. It's the part of us that wants to be noticed. So she was a very shy personality, but we found out that she had a fire on her midheaven, and she sang. And so from that moment on, I said to her, hey, listen, forget the shy song. You promised based on your midheaven, you would show off. So she went that last weekend, just passing, she went and sang at her sister's wedding, which she would never have done, but she discovered in the chart that her stretch, the top of the chart, the midheaven, her calling, that's called your highest calling is the midheaven, demanded that she take her Leo out to the public. And she did. Yes, Ashley Reed. And it was awesome. And she sent me the video and she was so proud of herself, but it was so unnatural. So the midheaven, while it doesn't have a voice through a planet, and it's not coming directly through your personality, it's an aspiration. It's called the top of your chart because you're trying to rise up into it. Okay. My Monique midheaven is Cancer. You're not alone. So let's start with the fire signs. Aries, Leo, or Sag. You are here to be bold. If you're an Aries, you're here to fight for us. You're here to be the voice of the underdog. If you're Leo, you're here to show off, be noticed. Even if you're shy, you promised you'd be bold. If you're Sag in the midheaven, you probably wanted to be a teacher of philosophy and would love astrology. You promised you would. So any three of those, any one of those three is fire. And it means you've been bold and directed by your career to be a bit of a shit disturber. And even if you're a gentle personality type, it's still calling you to stand up. Okay, let's do, that would be fire. Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. If you have Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn on your midheaven, which is what element? Who knows what element it is? Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. I'm waiting for you, chat. Yes, look at that. Some people know astrology in this room. Da, 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 da. Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad you're all listening. Look at that. Wow. Dorothy and Nicole and Louise, Michelle, Tonya, Linda, Dawn. Dawn, you're here. Bridget, Iona, Jen. Look at everybody knows. Susan Mayer. Okay, you guys, you don't have to know it, but you're going to learn it if you read the book, The Missing Element, that the earth sign influence is what? That means in this lifetime, your career could be boring. It could be detailed. It could be stick-it-to-itness. So if you have stability, thank you, Allison. If you have Taurus in the midheaven, this is one of my favorite best cohorts, my right-hand woman, she has Taurus, and I say to her, sometimes your job's going to be boring. Because you have Earth, it's different in the last category. They're here to be the shit disturber and constantly break things up and open them. If you've got Earth in the midheaven and you've got Taurus, you came to hold down the fort. You're the stability, you're the base note, and it's mundane. If you have Virgo in the midheaven, you came in to do details. While you may not like them, Earth people always complain. They always complain. Too bad, you came to do details. And if you're Capricorn in the midheaven, you are a late bloomer. Your career may happen later in life. Okay, yes, Manuela. Is that yours, Manuela? Both Pisces? Yes, said Wens. Okay, I love that you guys are all here. I have Cap on my midheaven, said Nicole. So you are going to be a business person. Any one of you that has Taurus, Cap, or Virgo on the midheaven, please be responsible to take over the details in your job, even if you don't like them. And if you have Aries, Leo, or Sag, you came in to disrupt us and to push us, even if you're shy. Okay, let's do the third category. This is called air, A-I-R. And this is in the book, my favorite story in my book that I wrote. It's the story about Kenny, who I got out of prison. But I won't go there now, distraction. Okay. If you have Gemini, Libra, like what happens with Carrie, or Aquarius in the midheaven, you promised in this life that you would communicate with us, that you would be the wordsmith. So Carrie is my best editor, and she does all of infusion stuff. All of you that are on my mailing list, and I hope all of you are because you're in this room, we send out every full moon and new moon a letter that tells you the flavor of the month. Well, Carrie's an air sign, and she's the best collaborator. Why? Because she has Libra on the midheaven. And it's not just in her career, in her life. She wants to be in partnership. That's Libra. If it's Gemini in the midheaven, you promised you would talk to us. You would write. You'd communicate. You'd be the voice that would help us. You'd come study astrology. Yes, you can publish things. Did I publish poetry? I wish I did. And if you're Aquarius in the midheaven, you really want to talk about this class. And we're sending in the link of this classroom, the opportunity to take it, because if you have air on the midheaven, your highest career and ambition is consciousness. Remember I started off with that? Your left brain wants Windex and some dusting off because you want to be able to use your brain power you promised. Not the sun sign you are, the midheaven. The book will help, said Meredith. I'm so glad. And then the last category is fire. I started with that. So we did Aries, Leo, Sag. We did Taurus, Virgo, Cap. We did Gemini. Oh, we're going to go do water now. Libra, Aquarius. And I have water. This is such a big insight for me. This was really liberating. So if you have Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces in the midheaven, you'll know by my book and by our work in the school, water is the healer. But the problem with water is they get dirty water by picking up everybody's toxicity and then not wanting to be the healer because they're so fed up with everybody's energy. They're like, why am I always feeling so sad? Because you don't have boundaries. If water has no boundaries, it spills everywhere. If I poured water right now on this computer, it won't just hit the spot I'm aiming for. It will go everywhere. Don't pour astrology water on your computer. So this is going to interrupt the computer and you will find yourself, no, I'm being funny. Is that funny? Commercial break. Back to Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. I have Cancer in the midheaven. I didn't know this, but my career and my highest calling was to be a mom. Now, if somebody would have told me that at a younger age, I swear to you, I would have 6 kids, which I kind of have 6 kids, but they didn't come out of my tummy. I didn't know how good I was at being a mom because I'm a Gemini. I'm a flaky when I was young. I was a flaky Gemini who was unorganized and just didn't know how to take care of herself. But as the years went on and your announcement, the midheaven shows up later in life. So often our careers, it's like if you know the story about Walt Disney, but Disneyland didn't open until his second Saturn return. He didn't come into his real calling. I'd love to know what he had. I think he had Gemini in the midheaven. Carrie, you can go look. I'm almost positive. He was a cartoonist because he had Sagittarius in the 3rd house. He was a Sagittarius. And then it's either Gemini or Cancer in the midheaven. I'd love to know. He was a Sag, Walt Disney. So the point being, the midheaven comes out in later part of life, but if you're studying astrology, you're getting the insights about your career earlier on. So if you have Cancer in the midheaven, you're a natural mother and you nurture everyone. If you have Scorpio in the midheaven, you are here to really be a healer and an unusual touch with a depth. It could be with money. We don't know what arena these healers will show up in, but you've got a Scorpio midheaven and you're here to penetrate the veneer and be more deep and honest than others. If you have Pisces in the midheaven, you're a musician or an artist and it may be left behind. That's my whole point, why you study. You don't want to leave your purpose behind, for God's sake.